My name is City Councilor LeVar Click Bruce, Ward 5. I'm calling this meeting to order. We're having a public discussion on raised crosswalks in our school areas. Calling this meeting to order. It is now 5 o'clock on the dot. And before I do so, I apologize. Oh, actually, he's coming in now, waiting on my other colleague, Michael Fenton, who just joined us.
Who's Mr. Speed Hump.
So yes, this meeting is now in session. I did meet with Miss Betsy Johnson. She brought this to my attention where she wanted to bring some awareness regarding some speed humps and raised crosswalks. And I did tell her I would host a meeting to start the discussion. I noticed there were some past discussions in the past that I weren't privy to, and you all may have some knowledge to it. But we want to have a discussion to see where or if this makes sense, and kind of get our school department and DPW in the room, and then we have some residents that are here as well. I'll also go around to see if everybody here can just introduce themselves so we have a record on file here, starting to my left.
How you doing? My name is Dennis Coleman, part of that team that's on the screen there, Transportation Department.
That start. Chris Shignoli, DPW Director.
Sheila McElwain, Ward 6.
Jeremy Cole, Ward 6, on Meredith Street, right near the Washington School.
Betsy Johnson, from on downtown Mattoon Street, but with Walk Bike Springfield, and who was previously working with Councilor Fenton to come up with ways that the city could start to install speed humps, speed tables, speed raised crosswalks as just one of the different mechanisms we need to do to slow down people in this city. And the issue related to the—
Sorry, Betsy, before you go on, I'm sorry. I got Liam from Walk Bike Springfield. We have Councilor Fenton. We have Rick and his whole team there. Sorry.
Deb Duncan and Chris Coleman.
Deb, and who's the other one? I'm sorry.
Chris Coleman.
Okay, Chris. How you doing, Deb?
Good, how are you?
Good. All right, so I'm sorry. The floor is yours. Oh, Chris, I sent you an email with some suggestions that Betsy has sent to me. I meant to send to you.
Yeah, and I have a few more copies of what this goes back to. After the council worked out with Chris a ordinance to enable neighborhoods to be able to petition for speed humps in their neighborhood. Some of them have been actually the process is a bit difficult for certain unless the streets configured a certain way. And then we heard back that, from the engineering department that some of them have got put in and gotten feedback back, and they sort of said, wouldn't it be better if the engineering department actually, pushed forward some of the suggestions, and that's where we came. But then meanwhile, sort of in the same time period this was happening, one of the crossing guards was killed, another one not too long afterwards was severely injured. And this is where, okay, one of the places maybe we really should start with getting some kind of speed humps, speed raised crosswalks is by some of the schools. And I think it was with Rick, you were who helped mastermind getting me the suggestion. Well, at that point, I was working with my Ward 1 school committee member, who's is no longer on the school committee, but he helped work with you to come up with suggestions. And I brought some copies of, what might be some of the main. I think you really looked at where are some of the crosswalks that have crossing guards, where we'd also really like to send the signal, slow down people. And so but then the issue is, how do we now make this happen? How do we, prioritize these? Where do we find the money? to,
And we learned that other cities have established actually an ordinance for saying when these things happen, these things must happen now.
yeah.
Sorry, and what's your name again? I'm sorry.
I'm Deborah Huber.
Okay.
I'm on Walkabout Springfield with Betsy.
So, Todd,
Todd's in the back. So we're hoping that we can figure out how to get these things to happen. And if we can get the city council to support and actually strike up an ordinance, then that will tell DPW what needs to happen on the, instead of us begging and pleading every time we come up with an idea. My thought was, with this list of schools that have intersections they would like to have better accommodations to, is to basically make that kind of ordinance something that says when you work on those streets at all, you need to put in a raised crosswalk for the schools with some sort of distance for all crosswalks around the schools. Because right now it's just not safe for our kids to be out walking and riding.
All right, so thank you for that. Rick or Chris, do you guys want to jump in, or Rick?
Yeah, yeah, we provided this list. I want to say it was about a year ago with Mr. Gonzalez, school committee.
2 years
Gonzalez.
ago.
Oh, okay, 2 years. Okay. With Mr. School Committee Gonzalez, we were working collaboratively to get this list. So we do have the list that we can send you, LeVar, if you would like. And like I said, anything to promote safe crossing and for crossing guards and students, we definitely would like to collaborate in any way that we can. So.
All right, so Rick, that's your stance on it. It's something that you, well, I don't know if you coming out and saying that, do you recommend, or you're kind of saying, taking a stance where you're going to see what we're going to do first, or?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna follow the team. Obviously, we're a proponent of this because it's enhancing the safety of our students, pedestrians, and just the local community. So,
Okay.
I know we put this list together. I'm pretty sure there's gonna have to be some sort of phase approach to this list. But yeah, anything that you guys need from the school side, we'll be here to support on that end.
All right, thank you, Rick.
You're welcome.
Now, Chris, from logistics and I know cost, I know it's not cheap. What is your what are your thoughts?
Well, number one, I'm looking at the list here. There is no way on God's earth we're putting speed bumps on arterial streets. No way. Absolutely, positively.
On what
not.
streets again? I'm sorry.
Well, I'm looking here. Armory, Belmont, Boston Road. Bulls Park and East Street, forget that one for a second. Breckwood, Carew, Chestnut, Dickinson, Dwight, Main Street, State, Sumner Avenue, Wilbraham Road. We have added crosswalks on a number of these locations. We have 3 more going in this year at 3 locations in the city. One is on Bernie Avenue. The second is Belmont Avenue I'm drawing a blank at Woodlawn, Belmont at Woodlawn, and the third one is Berkshire Avenue at Holly Street. That's being redone, stop signs, etc. We have 3 that we're making applications for in the next month through the Mass Shared Streets program. For hopefully we get the money to be able to do that for next year. I'm just looking through the list here a little bit. Speed humps, speed bumps, speed tables, whatever we want to call them, depending upon where they are, have to be certain distances from intersections. And just speed bumps in general, this year I lost 2 contractors plowing because they refuse to plow. They're not plowing streets that have speed bumps on them. They will
well, how
not.
about raised crosswalks though?
They don't want anything to do with them.
Even where because they're a longer distance.
Well, it's a longer distance
and
and all that it does is damage their equipment. All it does is damage their equipment.
So this is a mystery to me because Chicopee has raised crosswalks, speed tables. That's Springfield does. Holyoke, as in Holyoke, they have. So what makes Springfield so special that the plow trucks don't work here and they complain about it here, but they don't complain about it in other
Because
places?
every other town does it themselves. We hire contractors.
So
safety.
it still makes no sense to me that we're the only city that can't get speed tables in. We have the highest pedestrian deaths. And we've come here to talk about speed tables and you raised crosswalks. So let's just keep it on this and let's keep it about schools.
Mhm.
And let's think about how can we slow traffic down with speed tables around schools and crosswalks? How can we make our pedestrians and our residents safer? And I don't think there's sure, practically there's cost issues. But if our priorities are right, this will happen. We can make this happen.
I was gonna say for a second, the safety around schools, I am 100% behind you on that. We are starting to work in a number of locations. We have 2 active Safe Routes to School projects. One of them is in construction right now for Rebecca Johnson School. The other one will be for Bowles Park School. That's why I said Bowles Park East Street. That is going to be redone as well. That is Mass DOT at this point. We have installed probably 20 locations, 30 locations in the past year where we've added stop signs to slow traffic down. The most recent one, Parker Street, White Oak, Cooley Street. My phone has been ringing off the hook, swearing at me, who the hell are you to do that? And I'm like, it went before the traffic commission. It was a request. The neighborhood association is screaming at us. Who the hell are you to put up stop signs? And I'm like, we're putting up stop signs to slow traffic down. We did it on Forest Park Avenue. And we've been, you didn't have to deal with 3 weeks worth of getting sworn at by residents. Oh, absolutely. I was threatened by a former city employee.
We hear from the people who love it.
Well, I hear from the people who hate it. I had no city employee threaten to kill me.
Yeah.
Threatened to kill me because who are you to put up stop signs? And I'm like, it came from the neighborhood association. In that sort of thing, we installed, I think it was the state money, 4-way stop signs. And the latest one is Springfield Street, where we looked at a number of options. And what we've been leaning towards, is stop signs more than anything else. It's cheap, number one, and you get to see how traffic responds to it. Springfield Street, as an example, in the area of Caseland and Cunningham, there's going to be a stop sign there. I think that was in front of the traffic commission a couple of weeks, last month. Yep. So that will get done at that location and at Armory and Springfield Street. So that's going to be a 4-way. So what we have been doing a lot is using stop signs that the general public hates, absolutely positively hates because they slow down. They do not want to slow down. Now, Forest Park Avenue, as an example, 5-6 months later, everybody loves it because they're used to it. And everybody who lives on that street is like, hey, the traffic has slowed down. Parker Street, in that particular area, the issue is sight distance because we've had a couple accidents there, and it's all because of sight distance. It's too much vegetation, private property, etc. So what we have been doing, and I guess the best one to me was the section of Parker Street that we went from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. That has slowed traffic down on that road wonderfully. There's still people who speed, but in general terms, it has slowed traffic down. We are going to be initiating the SS4A project, which we are finally starting design. We finally got our contract. That is going to be looking at major corridors, 15 intersection, major 11 corridors, 10 corridors, excuse me, around the city where we're going to be doing things like that. Sumner Avenue, as an example, from Dorset to I'm going to say roughly where it ties into Allen Street, is going to be turned into the same sort of thing as Parker Street, 1 lane in the middle. Page Boulevard, from O'Brien's Tavern to Bircham, is going to have the exact same thing done there. That's obviously a speedway, and that will start to slow traffic down there as well. We're not carrying that farther because farther down the hill at Brookdale in the new park, there's supposed to be some traffic signals going in there. And I don't know what the configuration and length of storage lanes needs to be there for that. They just redid the park, and as part of the park, they're supposed to be doing traffic signals. So there's supposed to be some signals there. The other one that we're going to be doing, Roosevelt Avenue and Roosevelt Terrace. That location has been notorious for accidents. There's injuries, I don't think there's been a fatality. But the speed of cars on Roosevelt Avenue is just too much. That intersection is going to get redone, but basically back towards the arch of State Street overpass and probably through the Blunt Park Road intersection is going to end up being the same thing. Not necessarily the roadway. Well, that may be a little different. Doing some actual roadway narrowing. When I say roadway narrowing, I'm talking about curbs and things like that. But we're going to be doing the same thing there, getting rid of lanes. And from a general standpoint on roads, that's what we're trying to do. We're going to be paving the upper section, I call it the upper section of Parker Street between North Branch Parkway and Boston Road as part of the paving program that we got to go in front of the council on Tuesday. And the remaining section of Parker Street, we're looking at trying to figure out if we have enough room to do something there. But the other one we're looking at is Sumner Avenue Extension. Because we're looking at some of the roadways where we're having extreme chronic problems with potholes every year. And Worthington Street is one of them. So Worthington Street from Armory is going to get repaved. And on every one of those streets, we will be putting in whatever bike accommodations that we can put in. And I say whatever, it really depends on the width of the roadway, what we're going to do. And, so when we get onto streets like Roosevelt Avenue and Sumner Avenue, and we do that restriping, with full bike lanes, buffers, because we have the room to be able to do it. On the roads where we don't have the room, I'm going to say Worthington's probably one of those that there may not be the room to do it, but definitely Sharrows and all that sort of stuff as well. So on all of these roadways where we're doing paving, especially on the arterial streets, we're going to be doing all the accommodations. We've had a very good uptick. I was not a fan. Well, there's 2 things. The MUTCD for years was basically saying you don't use stop signs for speed control. That has changed a number of 2, 3, 4 years ago. That has kind of changed. My wife is from East Hartford, Connecticut. I went there, was there a lot of times. East Hartford's one of those streets that when you drive residential streets, it's like every intersection is a stop sign.
Three-way stop, three-way stop, three-way stop.
And it's just, you get frustrated. But on what we've been incorporating on these streets as we go along, and I'm using Springfield Street as an example, and Mike's on, so Mike knows what we were talking about there. We were looking at raised crosswalks, beacons, all these other things, and it came back to let's just put in a stop sign and see how that works. If it works, I mean, wonderful, and it's no cost, basically, you're putting in a stop sign. If it works and it's slowing traffic down, wonderful. And then if there is a next thing that we need to do, you know, on different streets, definitely open to do it. The tables, if they're done correctly, I like them. I really do. What I don't like about them, though, is we really need to do bump outs for them. Because when the road, and I don't remember the number, when the road is over a certain width and you do the beacons, you have to have a median in the middle, a refuge area. So what you do to get around that is you bring the curb in at the crosswalk. So you're really only crossing the lanes, you're not crossing the gutters. The problem with that is once you do that bump out, it affects drainage. So because the drainage is in the gutter, so you gotta move catch basins. And those bump outs average somewhere probably $300,000 for each one of those locations that we do. Because those we're putting in have the RRFB beacons, and those are the blinking yellow ones. And you're basically having 4 of them. There's 2 double-sided ones that have to be on either side. And it all depends on vegetation, making sure you can see it. As I said, the 3 locations that we're putting those in this summer, the SS4A, as I mentioned, we just got the contract back about 3 weeks ago from the Federal Highway Administration, so our designers are working. And some of these locations, we're going to be doing the enhanced crosswalks there. Bump outs, not necessarily raised crosswalks, but bump outs, beacons. In a lot of these locations, Sumner Avenue as an example, I want to say Eddywood Street area. We're going to be putting in those crosswalks with the beacons. And because I know we're doing Sumner Avenue, Main Street, Carew, Page Boulevard, State Street, a bunch of those. A lot of the stuff on State Street is more signal upgrades, backings, reflective backings and things like that. So a lot of the safety stuff that we're doing very, very incrementally with different means. And I've been very happy with the response to the stop signs. I've also been very happy with the response like we did on Parker Street with the slowing of the speeds there with the 1 lane. The neighborhood hated it. I think me and you were at that first meeting where they were yelling and screaming at us.
It came around.
Well, it's one of those, you just get used to it. You know, you may or may not like it, you get used to it, but you know, you can only go as fast as the slowest car.
We should let Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but I wanted to let everybody know there's of the stuff that we have in the hopper that we are looking at around the
We've been
city.
very involved with the safe SS.
The
for all.
the SS4A has been extremely frustrating. A year and a half to get that contract.
No.
I've
been
just
talking with Andy regularly on that.
ridiculous on that when we finally got it.
But Chris, so you have this list, and I know you said most of them you're already doing some.
We're going to be doing something in and around
In and
those, a
around.
lot of
Can
those,
you
yes.
modify it and let us know?
Yeah.
Like the ones that in and around that you're doing, so that way we can kind of keep an eye on that as
Yeah.
well. All right, I'm gonna give the floor to Counselor Fenton.
Unmute. Hi, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say that I appreciate the testimony that's been given. Betsy, Todd, Deb, they're right that we worked for a long time on getting the speed hump ordinance together. Chris is right that our first one that was installed, we were really enthusiastic about it, thought it was a great location, had neighborhood support, had neighborhood council support. It's been in for less than 6 months, and it has been really negatively received by the residents overall. There's been a ton of really negative and emotional response to the speed bump, and it's made it very difficult to proceed with further deployment. That's the first one we've done using the residential petition process. So I must admit that I'm discouraged by that, and that has had an unfortunate chilling effect on the further deployment of other similarly situated speed bumps. With respect to the Springfield Street proposal, I'm glad that Chris raised that, because I'll just share with you my personal experience on that. In the last 2 years, I've been working on traffic mitigation solutions for a decade on that street. And really, the last 2 years has been the largest focus since we've had the change in approach for speed bumps in the city. We have explored not less than 5 to 6 different plans for how to mitigate speed with devices in the road, including rumble strips, raised crosswalks, lit crosswalks, unlit crosswalks, speed bumps, islands in the road, inserting bike lanes, shrinking the driving lane to reduce speed, speed boards. Those are just like off the top of my head things that we've explored. And we went to the neighborhood and Bay State, with each of these proposals. And and another proposal that we also looked at was turning a particular street into a one-way, making it so that it couldn't be turned down. So, I mean, basically every tool available to us in the toolbox was explored for speed mitigation, particularly on Springfield Street between Armory Street and Chestnut. That was the main focus. And there was without exception opposition from immediate impacted neighbors to each of those proposals. People concerned about noise, people concerned about accident, people concerned about proximity to their driveway. And, I guess the word that I would use, the two words that come to mind is been uh, it's been frustrating to try to navigate that successfully, because the city government doesn't want to spend taxpayer dollars that are designed to make quality of life improved for folks, and then dictate to those same folks that we're professing to make their lives better, make them incredibly upset and frustrated in the process. We don't want to spend boatloads of money on doing that and then have people who are really upset with the overall result. And I was really surprised. I was really surprised at a lot of the opposition that we received, given prior feedback regarding speeding and the desire for humps. So in the end, despite having access to resources, despite having committed budgetary capability to spend $250,000 on speed humps in the right of way, the neighborhood, on its own decision, decided to abandon those plans despite having the access to resources and the willingness to explore it from the city. And we've proceeded with 2 speed boards and 2 stop signs, sort of similar to what's happened on Forest Park Ave. I'm not saying that's the right solution for everybody. And I'm not saying that speed bumps don't have a place and raised crosswalks don't have a place in the city. They certainly do. But when I started this crusade, my focus was on getting these deployed into the right of way with an expectation that there was definitely, I thought, a strong desire for this in neighborhoods. And I'm sure there still is in a lot of places, but I do want to express to the advocates, of which I consider myself one, that there is definitely an undercurrent of opposition to this work that doesn't really present itself at these meetings, and doesn't present itself until the work is done or is about to be done. And that was my experience on Barrington Drive, where the first one was done. And that was also my experience in Atwater Park, where the opponents didn't appear until we knocked on their doors and handed out flyers and said, hey, here's where the speed hump's going to go. And a whole bunch of hell no's came back. So I just wanted to thank Chris for that work, that hard work. I don't want to kill you, Chris. You shouldn't be threatened. You don't deserve that. I'm sorry that happened. I don't mean
Oh,
to
yeah,
make.
you say that now.
I don't mean. I mean, maybe figuratively, I want to kill you. Not actually, I want to kill you. But nobody should have to endure that type of language. And I'm sorry that you've had to go through that. But I think that the reason we're here, not to be too lengthy, but the reason we're here is that we all agree that speeding is a huge issue. I think it's the #1 quality of life issue in the city. And the noise that's related to it, they go part and parcel. It's a #1 issue, and I'm committed to working on it and finding the right solutions. I am excited to see what the stop signs are going to yield, and if they don't work, then we'll be back at the table coming up with other solutions. But that was just my personal experience in the last 2 years, and I know that a lot of the advocates probably haven't heard that from me because those are new developments, but I wanted to share my experience in that regard. Thank you.
All right. 2 hands up. Are these questions for Mike or you just have comments? Because if you have comments, all right. So I'm going to Councilor Davila because he hasn't spoke yet. Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for holding this meeting. Chris, thank you for your presentation. Let me give you a little bit of a perspective on my side. Also, what's happening with the speed bumps. I just had a request, actually, an inquiry about 2 days ago of putting speed bumps on Eaton Street. And once I explained to her the process, to my constituent the process, they liked the idea, but they were a little hesitant with the amount of signatures that I require, because it's a process of requiring signatures. So we're still exploring that option. And as Councilor Fenton just said, I'm sure that there's throughout the city more people that are inclined or might be, once they learn more about the speed bumps, open to the process. But is the intent to suspend the speed bumps or to replace them with stop signs, or what's the intent right now?
You're talking, Counselor, about the existing ordinance?
Yes. Are we intending to scrap that ordinance and replace it with stop signs, or what exactly are we doing?
No, not that. No, as far as I know, there is no intent to scrap the ordinance. It is the discussion has and correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, because I'll go back to you. When we were having the discussions way back about the original ordinance, the idea of speed bumps, we really were not discussing arterial streets. We were discussing, I'm going to use the word residential cut-through streets.
That's right.
And we were always, and as an example, in Mike's area, a street like Cunningham Street where everybody cuts through, and or Caseland, it was the type of street where everybody was looking at as a from a neighborhood perspective. Hey, everybody who's driving up and down the street, they don't live here, they're going 50 miles an hour. Why do I have to deal with it? And that was the whole idea of the ordinance. Speed bumps, small scale on a residential street. The ordinance right now, I don't think we have any intent right now of getting rid of it. But what we are also looking at the same time is when a resident, like as you mentioned, Victor, as a resident makes that sort of request, we try to also elevate it into the neighborhood association as well, because they're going to have to get there anyways from a discussion standpoint. So we look at it started in a broader context that, all right, we're going to put a speed bump on this particular street in this particular location. And so what that really does is solve a problem for 500 feet, 250 feet each way.
Right.
Have a bigger problem in the neighborhood where something else can be done. And that was specifically what ended up happening on Forest Park Avenue, where the discussion with the neighborhood group morphed from let's do speed bumps. Hey, let's do a speed table. Let's raise the intersection to let's just try stop signs and see if it works. So that was kind of the morph, but I don't think we are intending at this point to get rid of the ordinance.
Okay, thank you. And so Chris, I have to agree that one of the biggest issues we have here in terms of quality of life is traffic and speeding, and especially now that we're about to hit spring. I just saw like 30 bicycles on Sumner Avenue 2 days ago. And so I'm sure the police is going to be following up on that eternal problem that we have with the bicycle, with the motorcycles rather. And so, but Chris, I'm going to send you an email. I have had some requests for the traffic commission. I am not getting any response from the engineering and the traffic commission. And I need a response to my inquiries. And so I'm going to be talking to you offline because, you know, I feel like it's radio silence right now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, send that stuff to me and I'll look at it and see what's going on.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Yes.
So to the point of the upset of the neighbors, or the willingness to come along after a while, the road changes on Parker Street.
Yep.
There's a lot of crap coming out on Facebook. People are really still annoyed and pissed.
Yeah.
But one of the biggest complaints about this White Oak stop sign
Yep.
is they felt they got no notice,
Mm-hmm.
which is the same thing they said about Parker Street.
Yep.
Okay, I think if we would improve the notice, it might help, although I do agree it's easier to ask for forgiveness than to get permission. And so part of it is put it in, but at the same time it goes in, we need to tell people. And I haven't looked at that one, but I know the ones that went in on Forest Park Ave.
Yep.
They initially, to my knowledge, had no warning. You drove up and went right through them because that's what you're used to doing. We talked with Andy Carr, Walk by Springfield did.
We have the
Yep.
traffic commission too.
We talked to them, to Andy, and we've now talked with Hector.
Yep.
Because Hector kind of is the sign organizer person.
Yep.
And what we've recommended is the way the state did it at St. James Ave and Thompson.
Yep.
Was they have three signs.
Yep.
A traffic pattern has changed, sign warning. Then the stop sign ahead sign,
Yep.
which is now just an icon kind of thing.
Yep.
And then the stop sign. And we are saying that when we're gonna throw up a stop sign, we cannot just throw it up. We have to, even if it's just sandwich board signage,
Yep.
temporarily, to get people aware that it's coming and they need to stop. We
Mhm.
need that extra signage, so 2 to 3 warnings,
Mm-hmm.
before you get there. And I suspect that this White Oak, which I've told people on Facebook, was that this one scooted in before, and we only talked with Hector a month ago.
Yep.
So I'm hoping that DPW, as the implementers, will
Mhm.
do that. And
Yep.
we haven't.
I got no problem with that.
We haven't
should
talked
be
to
doing-
you.
Yeah.
It needs to happen.
Yep.
And so that's why I'm bringing that up, is that we need those warning signs. And the same thing when you were making a big change to the traffic flow.
Mhm.
New traffic pattern ahead.
Mhm.
Slow your butts down.
Yep.
Did we tell you there's a new traffic pattern ahead?
Mhm.
Pay attention.
Mhm.
Here it is. As many warnings as possible is really important. And as far as the speed boards go, they really should not be being put up without the existing speed limit within view of them.
Mhm.
Because most of them are not the ones that say slow down.
Right.
They're the ones that just show you your speed.
Yep.
And so that would be another thing, if they're coming through you guys,
Yep.
is let's make sure whether it's visible or it's, it's visible close enough you can see a sign when you're looking
Yep.
at the speed board, or to add a sign.
Yep. Yeah, I got no problem with that.
So-
They should in a lot of locations. And just from a notification standpoint, a lot of the bigger ones that we do come through the neighborhood associations. They come through the neighborhood associations, and we're having 2 or 3 months worth of discussions before it even goes to the traffic commission. And, the Forest Park Avenue was a great one. We go through, and a lot of the comments that I got were, hey, nobody told me about this. Not talking about, hey, I can't see the signs, I didn't know there. Why didn't we say anything about this? It's like, well, it was discussed at 2 neighborhood association meetings. It's at the traffic commission. It was sent out, we send it out to the neighborhood, and in that particular case, Beata was dealing with it. And I brought it up, I was meeting with PVPC on some stuff yesterday. Getting information out to people now is very, very difficult. Websites, who looks at websites? You're getting 10% of the people. Facebook, you might get 15% of the people. Next door, you get the same 15%. I was making a joke with somebody, what the city used to do every Sunday is there was some sort of flyer in the Sunday paper that had 3 or 4 things on it. Household hazardous waste, when does yard waste start, all this sort of stuff. Nobody reads the paper anymore. You can't bury stuff in the legal notices and stuff like that. So when we get the information out as much as we can, I'm just talking about the information, not the signage or anything like that. So we get as much of that out as we can, and we ask neighborhood associations to, and a lot of these, if a request comes from the resident, we are asking most of them, and I used one Barrington as an example. How not to pick on LeVar, but because you were involved in the email chain, how many emails did we get saying, when the hell are you going to put these things in? And it was just because it was costing at that particular point. But when you're going to put it in, finally, when it happens, it's like, it was like everybody who signed the petition was like, well, we don't like it now. Take it out.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like, well, wait a minute. We just spent 50 grand. Well, now I got to spend 25 taking them out. And you voted for it.
50 grand for a speed bump?
Well, what we did is we put it into our paving program, and just because we're not going to be able to do it, we put it into our paving program that said, hey, you got to do all of this work, mill out, because we're not going to just pave over the street. We're going to mill it out, because whether it's a plow or whatever, we don't want it to pull up. So we're locking it in. You also have to put all the signs. The other thing people are mad about, when you're doing those, you got to have some no parking. And we in the ordinance, we also say it's got to be so many feet from driveways, because what people didn't want to do, you're backing out of your driveway and you're having to go over a speed hump and stuff like that. So trying to locate it in some cases is very difficult. That was the issue with Forest Park Ave, is everything's kind of off.
I just want, if I could, Mr. Chair, butt in for a second, if it's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't find myself corroborating with Chris all that often, so I feel compelled to do it when it's warranted. I mean, and to Councilor Davila's earlier point about people getting discouraged about how hard the application is. I mean, anybody that spoke to me, Betsy or Deb will verify. When we did this, I made this intentionally a very high bar. I mean, it's 2/3. You need 2/3 of the signatures on the street. You got to get signatures from people that are impacted on parallel streets. You can't be within 10 feet of a driveway. You need a neighborhood council vote. You need a city council vote. You need a board of public works vote. You need a public hearing at the site. You need a 90-day trial period. We did all of that. We crossed every T and dotted every I for that Barrington speed bump. And despite that, and despite all the people who have come to me over the last few years and said, I'd like to look at one. We looked at one on Cunningham Street, and they went whole group. Oh, everyone's gonna love the speed bump, and they went to go get the signatures. They got everybody on Cunningham Street to sign, and they came to me, and I said, well, it's not done, because you got to get the parallel street. You got to get Caseland, because you got to make sure that it's not going to have traffic flow pushed to Caseland. They couldn't get the signatures on Caseland because people didn't want it. And so I guess my point is not to beat a dead horse, but it's that we created a process that was intentionally laborious, intentionally hard, a high bar, not an impossibly high bar, but a high bar. And even when it was met, there was substantial change of heart. is what I would describe it as after the fact. And that makes it really hard. It makes it really hard to fight for investing in this stuff. I got to be honest, because of the obvious dynamic that I just described.
Sheila, you were gonna say something?
I had two questions. First of all, I wanted to ask Chris, you said that you had two plow contractors who pulled out because of the speed bumps.
Yeah,
And how many plow contractors do you have overall? 100. So that was,
Which was 87 short of what you needed.
yeah, I want, and when I first started in 2014, I had 150
right,
private contractors.
right.
And I have 153, I think, for my years. 2020, it's dropped down. The last 3 or 4 years, we've been at 100.
So you lost two of those.
Yeah, and they lost because they damaged their equipment.
Right.
Is what they did. So,
But the rest of them stuck with it.
well, the issue is that those are the ones that work in that neighborhood. Because
Okay.
we have the city. Not to talk about snow. I don't even want to talk about snow anymore. But what we have is the city split up into 15 sections for snow, and contractors get assigned to those sections. So the contractors that are in certain sections are like, and some of them say, I don't want to plow whatever street because there's cars parked on both sides. Bullshit, you're going to plow the street. So in this particular case, so the ones that are in that neighborhood said, I'm not going to, my plow got damaged. I'm not going to do it anymore. So then we have to move some equipment around. And, when we mentioned Barrington, we had temporary ones in there for 8 months. Everybody loved it. Everybody loved it. And then all of a sudden you put the permanent one in and it's like, we hate it. And people who signed, like I said, I'm not going to talk about, but there was one other that we installed that was on DuBois Street. And DuBois is Page Boulevard, Pasco Road, across the, I'm trying to think what's over there, Rick's, or not Rick's Auto Body, but across the street from Rick's, in that neighborhood. Residents were talking about it being a cut through. When we installed the one on Barrington, we installed one there. That one haven't heard a thing about from anybody on that one. But that one probably took 2 years to go through the process. Because one of the things that we require in the petition is that if it is in front of your house,
Right.
you have to be the advocate for it. Nobody wants it in front of their house. They want it, but not in front of my house. I'm going to say 7, 8 years ago, Forest Park Avenue was the same thing. We were looking at a raised crosswalk, and everybody was like 100% for it. Everybody was like, but not in front of my house because I want my parking. I want this. I want that.
What
So
Cambridge did, not so that they didn't put the raised crosswalks on like Magazine Street, the big arterial.
Yep.
But the entrance to every side street, which is a residential street, is a raised crosswalk.
Right.
So it's really signaling, okay, you're going from an arterial to a residential street.
Yeah.
And that has been received, because I want us to return. Springfield is now, again, 2025, we were the deadliest community for pedestrians in all of Massachusetts for the third out of the last 6 years. So something has got to change. And so if people complain, we need to bring up to them, as Todd was saying, safety. We're killing people.
Well, the other.
You may not want to go slower. You may not want speed humps. On the other hand, we are the deadliest community in Massachusetts. So something has to change.
And just for everybody's purpose, when there is a major accident and especially a fatality, we immediately meet with the police department.
And the police department will say, in every single case, it was the pedestrian's fault. Well, we have no crosswalks across arterials in this city. So guess what? We have a culture of you have just got to cross wherever and whenever you can, and guess what? You'll get killed. I mean,
I'm gonna disagree with you on this
conversation I brought up to Superintendent Aitkins. How about you leading the charge to do a Vision Zero initiative, like, you know, inconsistent, you'll get Pioneer Valley Planning Commission to work with you on that. Well, what's that? Oh, it's to bring down the fatalities to zero. Well, that's impossible, so. You
That's
know,
a national
mentioned
program.
one-
He doesn't know
no,
about
he
it.
doesn't know about it. He did not know about it.
Before we go on, do we
Yeah.
have any further questions for?
That's why I don't want to leave the school. I want to, we can't just leave the school department hanging.
Right, so that's my next thing. Do we have any further questions or comments for the schools? Because I know a lot of discussion on the road, so that way I don't want to keep them, so.
And one of the things that I'm gonna do, I know you, Betsy, you and Debbie have seen it. I'll circulate to you, LeVar,
Yeah.
the concept plans that we have for the SS4A.
Okay,
Because what they're just, and their plans that are on aerial photography that shows what we're planning on doing. So I'll circulate those. I'm gonna double check, but I'm 99.9% sure they're posted on our website as well. But I will make, if they are not, I'll make sure that they're on there, but I'll circulate them as well.
Well, and I think to the extent if we,
so
we.
what's the other question, right?
Wait your turn.
Yes, or comment, yes.
I just want to blow a fantasy out of the water.
Yeah.
Guys, don't look to the neighborhood councils and the civic associations to get through to the citizens. They're not in touch with everybody. They're in touch with the 5 or 6 people who show up at their meetings, and they don't have tentacles out into the neighborhood. We all know it. I've talked to you about it. You guys know it. You certainly know it. You know it.
Know it from Metro Center.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No,
And
you're
so,
right.
so I feel your pain about trying to reach people, and we
Yeah.
don't have a newspaper.
Yeah.
That functions. I don't know what to tell you, but our main problem here that we've all touched on is education.
Yeah.
Education about the need for this kind of stuff, and education for the process, and getting people's feedback, and trying to deal with opponents, and getting opponents at the table early.
Yes. Agreed.
It'd be interesting exercise to poll the neighborhood councils and say, how many people can you reach out to via email? For example, I know East Springfield, that's where I live, they have a list.
Yeah.
And every so often they mail things out to the list. Whether you're a paying member or not,
Yeah,
but
certain areas.
others are not that.
Exactly, certain, yeah, certain.
So it's a small neighborhood.
East Springfield?
Ooh.
Springfield, Forest
Gentlemen,
Park
have a-
has 26,000 plus people. It's 4 times the size of East Springfield. I mean, the
Fair
challenge
enough.
is overwhelming.
This gentleman has a question or comment.
Yes, Chris, I'd like to come back to the comment you made about the streets that you would never put a label across.
Yeah.
And again, I live on the Chicopee Springfield line.
Mhm.
When I drive down the hill and I go to Chicopee, there are speed tables across major arterials,
Mhm.
slowing the traffic down. And it's wonderful. And they are around the high schools.
Mhm.
And so I'm wondering what makes Chicopee arterials different than Springfield's are.
Here, it's 100% police and fire. Police and fire will say, I cannot have them on the major streets for us to get to either an accident, to a hospital. And that's actually in the ordinance, Michael, correct? We have something in there about adjacency to
Yeah, I mean,
hospitals, police,
I-
fire.
yeah, we do have in there that we get comments from police and fire. And to be clear, the ordinance isn't the only place that a speed bump can go. It's the only place that a resident can create a binding petition to put a speed bump. So we don't want to put residents in charge of main arterial ways that are subject to much greater engineering scrutiny than, a dead end or a small residential street, like, for example, Cunningham Street. So, but that doesn't mean that, because Chris, for example, State Street, right? I mean, that's a major arterial road,
They don't
right?
have a
Where-
raised crosswalk there.
Right, which
Has insufficient signage.
it's severe. It's not one of my favorite things.
No, none of us.
It's not one of my favorite things. It's operating correctly. And the day that we did it and to today, all I do is get bitching from the fire department. Because they basically have to come to a stop with any piece of apparatus to go over
Well,
that.
they have to basically come to a stop for almost every intersection as well.
Well, and
Well,
now,
Oh, they do.
well, they kind of have to because they're just nervous about the cross traffic people.
So you're
hearing and
going
stuff.
through the X with your sirens.
Well, they go through, but it's, you know, when they're telling me that they gotta come to a complete stop, you know, and they're going up and down State Street, that's basically the answer to your question, Todd, is police and fire would say to me, there's no way on God's earth I'm gonna vote for something on this street that, you know, especially in arterial, which is where we travel 99% of the time, on that, and the one on State Street and, you know, for example, you mentioned Long Meadow. They ripped those two out and had to redo them.
I know that.
And
but-
now you can drive over them, which I've done,
Yeah,
at 40 miles an
I
hour.
don't know why they made them so big.
Well,
like,
it was the complaints.
Wow.
It was the complaints, and it was one of those, you look at the pavement on the other side and you see all the scratches. And so they were completely redone, and I drive through there all the time. My
Fairly slow.
grandkids live in Enfield. And it's like, geez, I can drive 40 miles an hour and not have to worry about it. But for example, Springfield College did one.
Yeah.
It's visual because it's got a different type of pavement, but it's not, they didn't, when you do the grading and everything, they didn't want to go back too far. So like one side is almost flat. One side of it, one of the curb side, it's almost flat. You drive through, you don't even feel it. The other side, you feel it. So when we get into, when we start talking about the arterial streets, it's all going to be police and fire saying to us, you're stopping us from getting to point A to point B quickly.
Yeah, I think I would beg to differ because Chicopee, again, speed tables, they're not much. And the difference between someone dying and someone being injured and someone just walking away
Mhm.
are a couple miles per hour. So when you slow traffic 3 miles per hour, they see more, drivers see more, they have more room to stop, and there's less damage. So Chicopee, you realize they had the highest pedestrian deaths in
They beat us out 1 year.
1 year. And they turned around and they put those speed tables in and it worked. So I think throwing the gauntlet down and saying, we're not going to put a speed table raised crosswalk in front of a school that's on a major arterial is not the right approach. I think staying open to it, and I think allowing the school committee to say, hey, this might be a good solution. Because we see it in other communities. We know other communities have done it. Their police aren't complaining about it, their fire.
Well, if they are, that's too bad.
And it's not like State Street crossing hump. These are speed tables.
Yes.
Sorry, just say something about, you mentioned, Chris, about speed limit signs.
Yes.
By the Washington School, which is where we live,
Mhm.
there aren't any.
Mhm.
People go up and down 50 miles an hour
Mhm.
at times. Today, I was on Idale Street, which directly faces the Washington School, trying to just load some stuff into a car on a building we're working on.
Mhm.
I felt my life was in my hands when I was doing it. They're going to pick up their kids, how they have no idea they may know they should go slowly, they're in a hurry, so they go fast. They need to have, one way you educate people is with signage.
Mhm.
And we need to have signs that are visible, which means that those signs that have lights around them. I know that's expensive,
Ugh.
but you need to get the word out to people, and we can't get it out otherwise, we need to do something. That's a minimal amount of impact, but at least it's something more, if you're not gonna do anything, then we need to do that. The stop signs are also important. I think every one of those little side streets should have stop signs. I think the 4-way stop, which we talked with you about at one point, at the intersection of Pickens and Washington needs to, you were gonna put in, I guess, a 90-day trial of a four-way stop. We need to do that. We need to get those in there because I was there today at the end of the day of school. There were cars going but back and forth. There were kids with their parents trying to cross while the traffic was there. I said, my God, somebody's gonna get really hurt here. We can't wait any longer.
So
And
hold on, Chris, before you go, so we have 2 minutes. I think we're gonna keep this, well, I know we're gonna keep this in committee. I'll wait for, I'll have you say a few words after also, Chris, but I wanna try to wrap this up because I wanna be respectful of people's time. We'll keep this in committee. I'll wait till you send us the working list.
Yep.
And we'll look to have further discussion. What I will do is also made a good point, contact the school committee, give them a kind of update what we're trying to do to see if they want to get on their docket as well and start having further discussion to kind of support what we're trying to do, and kind of go from there. But we'll look to keep this committee, look to have another meeting. I'll wait for Chris, and also again, I'll work with reaching out to the school committee. I also want to recognize our chair, our president, Tracy Whitfield. Before you go, I want to see if she has any comments or.
So I'm in 2 meetings right now. Sorry, I'm late. But I wanted to say that Betsy gave me an overview and I like the idea of having the, what are they? Speed humps, especially starting by the.
Especially if they're raised crosswalks.
Yeah, raised crosswalks, especially by the schools, like starting there, because sometimes those cars speed by and the kids' safety is so important. I would like to see it expand beyond that to high traffic areas, but I think that that's a good start. So I just wanted to say that before I go back to the other meeting. Good to see you all. Thank you all for bringing this forward.
All right, yes. I'm sorry, he hasn't spoke yet. I apologize. I'm gonna let him go, and then you, and then Chris, final words, and we'll wrap this up.
I'd like to speak to what Tracy just
Okay.
said.
Yep.
I do believe, everything that you said was informational, but we absolutely have to start by the schools. These crossing guards and these students it's very dangerous. Very, very dangerous.
Thank you. Yes.
So speaking of speed being our biggest problem, the city, Chris can tell us exactly how long ago we did adopt the 25 mile per hour thickly settled unposted speed. Unfortunately, basically this city, the entire city is pretty much thickly settled. Back when I was a kid, Harkness Avenue had signs posted that said thickly settled, and you were supposed to be going at that speed. In people's infinite wisdom, that wasn't good enough. So they put in the speed, which says 30.
Confusing.
But that speed now should be 25. And so I would really like to suggest that we take out all 30 mile per hour signs that are in thickly settled areas and at least put up the 25 or just a thickly settled warning sign again, so that we slow down the roads that were intended to be at that speed. And that would be, to my thinking, a super good place to start.
That's what Washington DC has done. They just plaster main roads with about every other tree.
I don't know which is the right approach.
Yes.
Take them down or take them down and replace them
And
or
this-
replace them
they
with
just
what?
have- they
But
put
we need to
25
get
miles.
rid of the 30 mile per hour signs that are too fast for our thickly settled city.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Chris, you have anything?
No, I don't think I have anything to add to what I have. The thing that really has changed over the last, just in general terms, I go back to 2010 when State Street was designed. The idea of State Street when it was designed, or when it ended up being constructed, was that you could be at Main Street and get to Mass Mutual's headquarters in 4 minutes. And that was the idea. The word was progression. If you went at 35 or 40 miles an hour, you were going to hit every green light and you were never going to have to slow down. That design, especially when we're talking about federal and state, is 100% different now.
Right.
It is doing things to slow people down. And one of the problems that we have is you've designed all these corridors for speed over the
Right.
years. Now you're designing them for slowing people down and adding in bicycles and pedestrians, which you should do. And I think something like the X as an example where the big complaint, one of the big complaints from pedestrian standpoint was we don't have enough crosswalks. 9 of them are gonna be in there. So.
Still.
It's like, and you're putting in turn lanes in the center, to get traffic out, so. It's the regulation stuff has really shifted. And which is a good thing. The problem is that now you have so many more options, from a design perspective, from an engineering perspective. And then we always have to look at, liability and what we're doing here. So, I know Debbie and Betsy, a little bit, we've had these discussions we adopted the complete streets, how long ago? 8, 10 years? 2015, so 10 years.
Yep.
Um,
Walk by
and-
Springfield's been meeting for over 10 years.
And we've been doing pretty good on getting our grants and all that sort of stuff and putting stuff in. And when we do something in one section of the city, the other section comes back and says, we want the same thing. And we did a lot of speed stuff with regard to the money that the neighborhood association got last year.
Radar.
On that, on those signs, because they collect data too. That's the good thing, that we're able to get a lot.
Now we just need to post next to them what the actual speed's supposed to be.
Yeah, a lot of those, some of them have them
But
on there.
Andy,
They were-
but some of them, but a lot of them
Yeah.
don't, but Andy has,
A list.
has
Yeah, he's got the
now
list.
is
Yeah.
working on that.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so let me,
Yeah.
we could have some kind of cancer afterwards, but let me conclude this meeting. It is now 6:04 on Thursday, April 2nd, maintenance and development. Topic was speed humps, especially around our schools and throughout the city of Springfield. I want to thank the school department for coming and representing. Always when we call, they come. Also to Liam, Jonathan, I didn't recognize you. I know who you are. I did see your comment message, so thank you for that. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I usually join the walk bike Springfield meetings. I haven't in a
Okay.
couple of months, but this one seemed pretty significant, so I wanted to be here.
All right, thank you. Councilor Davila, thank you. And this meeting is now adjourned.